Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending the webinar held by the Japan Business Association of Seattle. Today, we are inviting Mr. Tomio Moriguchi, and he will talk about the Nikkei Community Network. My name is Tetsuzo Yoshida. I am a board member of the Community Affairs Committee in JBA Seattle. Nice to meet you. First of all, let me introduce Mr. Tomio Moriguchi to you all. He is a former president of the Uwajimaya. It's a very famous Asian supermarket in Seattle area. And he founded Keiro Northwest with Mr. Toshi Okamoto. Tomio-san, could you please tell us about your and Toshi-san's achievements in establishing the Keiro Northwest, including introduction of Toshi-san?
Excuse me, introduction of what the network group?
Oh, yeah. Please tell us about your and Toshi-san's achievement in establishing the Keiro Northwest, including introduction of Toshi-san.
You want me to start now? Yeah. Oh. Okay, well, Yoshida-san, thank you very much. My name is Tomio Moriguchi. I was born in Tacoma, but raised in Seattle. My father is from Shikoku, Ehime-ken, and my mother was born in Seattle, but raised in Japan. The Keiro nursing home, I wasn't prepared to talk about that too much, other than about 45 years ago, a number of us, including Toshi Okamoto and 2 or 3 of us, found a old used 62-bed nursing home. And so we raised about $500,000 and bought it. We knew it was old, but there was a license and it was an ongoing operation. And about 10 years later, we built a 150-bed nursing home. But unfortunately, nursing care is very expensive and the government reimbursement was not adequate, so it was unable to sustain itself. So it unfortunately disappeared. But in the 40-year period, I think we served hundreds, if not thousands, elderly, including my mother was there 9 years, and my aunt, my uncle's wife was there about 3-4 years. So it has served the community well and many of our friends and family. So we are very grateful. But about 10 years ago, Toshi Okamoto also, we were talking about how we could get to know the Japanese, we call you Shin Issei, people that, the new Japanese from Japan, I say after World War II. Before World War II, they were, to me, Isseis, but I call you folks Shin Isseis. And I knew people like Tom Sasaki, he was with the bank. But overall, Toshi and I and Dale Kaku, we said that we really don't know and got to know the Japanese business people very well. So we said, how can we do that? And one of the idea was to form this Nikkei network group. So we gathered some people in June of 2010, people from the Vets Hall, from the Cultural Center and Kenjinkai. And then we had the representative from the Consul General's office. And so we used to have a meeting every 2-3 months, but it's difficult now. But the programs we worked on was, like I say, try to disseminate information of what the different organizations were doing. And as we talked to some of the business people from Japan, they were saying things like, we'd like to know a little bit more about the nonprofit system in the USA as one example. And then we in turn wanted to learn a little bit more about the Japanese culture. And then, let's see, so see what else. So anyway, we thought that we had a pretty good relation, but we just wanted to get to know each other better. And then one of the things that was very common to all of us was the baseball. So we tried to have we had 1 or 2 activities with Ichiro, but that was difficult. But we were able to work with Jojima, Sasaki, and Iwakuma. So that was one of the things we did. We were also able to always have a reception and a farewell for all the Consul General. In fact, the next network group meeting will be on November 5th, Thursday, 6 o'clock, and it will be Zoom, and it will be facilitated by the Shinjukai. So if people are interested, please contact Asami-san or Harry-san and get the information to get into the Zoom. We have asked the Consul General to speak a little bit, and for each organization, about 10, 15, that will just briefly tell about their program and the upcoming programs that they are working on. So we're hoping that this will allow us to get to know the Consul General a little better. But getting back to Tosho Komodo was a very active gentleman of the community. He did so much. He was with the vets, and then he got me involved with the Kawabe House. That's a non-medical elderly housing that was built by Mr. Kawabe. So he was a great community leader. He was such a respected person. So when he asked us to serve on the board, we just couldn't say no. But it's very unfortunate that he passed away 2 years ago. But he's the one that kind of kept us together on all these programs. So with that, it's been wonderful experience for all of us. And I just want to talk about Dale Kaku. Well, he's been active in the Vets Hall, but he's also been the secretary and the person in charge of the network group, recording of the minutes and keeping everybody informed of the future meetings. So he's been wonderful. And then Tom Sasaki chose and accepted to be the first, I guess, the chairman of this network group 10 years ago. And then a couple years later, I took over because Tom was going back and forth from Japan. In fact, he's there now, I think. So anyway, that's about the extent of it. In the future, I'd be happy to talk about Keiro Nursing Home. Like I say, it was 40 years of active participation. It was good for everybody. But it just was unsustainable. So, yeah, I'd be happy to talk about that in the future. Yeah.
Oh, great.
So if you have any questions, please, it's a very brief presentation of the network group, but I think it's a very important group. It's been allowed us to get to know, Shinjukai a little better, Consul General, and then some of the more recent Shin Issei organizations like the Japan Fair, Japan Week, we've been able to get to know them and work more with them. So I think hopefully this will continue for many years. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Tomio-san. Like Toshio-san and you established the Keiro okay.
No, it was called Issei Concerns at first.
Okay.
And then it went to Nikkei Concerns, and then it went to Keiro.
Okay. So yeah. So that our ancestors is very, I respect very well the old people from Japan, to make the Japanese people very comfortable. So that I heard, and you sometimes back to Japan, and you see some nursery school, nursery, like a hospital or the nursery house, to improve the facility in Seattle. It's very respectable, I think. Yeah. And my very impressive story is that you said that George Miller was playing in Mariners.
Yes.
He was very friendly man, very friendly man.
Oh.
Yeah. Yes. He is from Kyushu,
okay.
in Nagasaki. Yeah, he's very good guy.
Yeah. We were supposed to have a event for him the second year, but then he went to another team, so we were. Don Wakamatsu was the coach just for a little while, and he was try to arrange that we would get to know Jojima-san better, but he had to go to another team. So. Oh,
yeah. Okay. And Tomio-san is also currently the president of the North American Post.
Yes.
And soy sauce.
Yes.
The company issues life information magazines. And next, now we would like to move on to the Tomio-san's presentation. The PowerPoint used in the presentation is created by Tomio-san, and it was used when he gave a presentation at Mukogawa Women's University by the request of Ehime University in Japan. If you have any question in the presentation, please write them in the column in the Zoom screen. Then Tomio-san, could you please give us a presentation?
Thank you. Like Yoshida-san said, this was created for the exchange student that came to Spokane frequently, and so they come to Seattle once in a while. So they asked me to talk about my family history. So this is what it was created for. Then a couple years later, a professor from the Ehime Daigaku was doing a story about my father and other Isseis that left Yawatahama, the Matsuyama area. And so I was asked to bring this presentation to Matsuyama or Ehime Daigaku about 3-4 years ago. So Harry, can you get to the front? The first start of the. So this is my experience, family experience. So this was
so
round 1 or 2, I guess. And 1930. I was born in 1936. So next. And then my father came from Yawatahama, Wajima City, and Shikoku, and he came to Tacoma. As you know, Tacoma had the KKK line before they came to Seattle, and Tacoma was a booming Japanese community little before Seattle became famous. And so a lot of the immigrants from Japan, especially Shikoku, came to Tacoma. And so there was a little Japanese Nyomachi in Tacoma, and it had a very well-known Japanese language school and many businesses. But as Seattle became more popular, they kind of all moved to Seattle. Like I said, Tacoma had a very popular, famous Nihongakko, and Mumbusho would send a couple of teachers from Japan to this school, like they do now. And fortunately, they had a very good teacher, and so the students that came out of this school were all very proficient in Japanese. This is the story. The one with the necktie is my father, or in the back. Well, I guess they all have neckties. Anyway, that's my father, his brother on the front, and these are the people that helped him start Wajimaya in Tacoma in 1928. And so this is, he was making kamaboko. He learned how to make kamaboko in Wajima City. And this is, he was mixing surumi and making kamaboko and satsumage. Then he would then load his pickup panel truck and bring it to different camps where a lot of the Japanese, mostly bachelors, were working. So the camps were, around Tacoma and Seattle. And they were camps, this is the truck that my father had, and he would drive to like fishing camps, lumber camps, and mostly bachelors. This was I think, oyster farm. And this is my mother and my oldest brother, I think. Like I say, my mother was born in Seattle, but raised in Okayama City and came back when she was 25. So my father and mother had 7 children, but there's the 4 of us here before the war. And so this is my mother and my father's 2 sisters and my step-grandmother. I don't know who the other men are in the back, but so this is my father and his father and my uncle and my mother with their 3 children. And I think I'm the youngest one that's in the picture here. So this is myself about 1939, before the war. So my father was very militaristic, and then my father learned his business in Wajima. So I've been to Wajima a number of times, and then in Yawatahama, my cousin lives there, and my other cousin lives in Matsuyama, but I go to Hakamaidi frequently to visit with my cousins. So this was to relate the incarceration camp that people from Tacoma and Sacramento was sent to. It was an ordinary camp at first, but then it became a high security camp. So people that remained in the camp were very pro-Japan, and like my father wanted to go back to Japan right after the war. Fortunately, my aunts and uncles in Japan says, don't come back. So I don't know. My father might have been disappointed, but we were very fortunate not to go back to Japan right after the war, because I think situation was pretty bad at that time.
Tomi-san, can you turn on the video?
Yes. Oh, yeah, okay. Can the people see this? Well, anyway, so this is the year we left the camp, 1940. So my parents had 3 children during camp. Yeah. And this is my father's first Seattle store in 1946 on Main Street. And so this is the family, 1952 and 2000. Unfortunately, 2 of my brothers have gone now, so and my mother is gone. So in the 1950s, Japan, JETRO used to send a lot of trade fairs to United States, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Hawaii, and they used to come to Seattle. And my father always participated in these trade shows. So that's how we got to know some business people from Japan. And this is my father's first and only granddaughter that he was able to know before he passed away in 1962. So that's the story. We were in the World's Fair. Father always wanted to be part of a World's Fair, and unfortunately, that's the year he passed away. So fortunately, by the support of all of you, we've been very fortunate, and the business has kept growing. So I think so. We had a store in South Center, but it just didn't grow, and the rents kept going up. So but it was a nice store. It just, I guess we just couldn't sell enough tofu and rice. But
Tomio-san, can you turn on the video again?
Oh, I'm sorry. And so this was our Seattle store. And then a few years later, we added the 2nd floor, and then Kinokuniya bookstore came in there, if you remember. So, but 20 years ago, we moved to our Seattle new location. But we moved there, and then in 1970, we had a grand opening for that Seattle store. And my mother was still very genki at that time. And we had a warehouse, wholesale business. We sold to Nishimoto Trading, so it's no longer there. But we built this warehouse, which we sold, but we were unable to compete with the larger wholesale business. So we stuck to our retail business. So this is our Bellevue store, which we about 6-7 years ago moved to closer to downtown. But we were on 148th and 20th, and we took over an old Safeway. It took a little while, but it was doing very well. And that's why when we moved to closer to downtown Bellevue, fortunately, we're doing very well. And this store we opened in Beaverton, Oregon in I guess about 70s or 80s. Yeah. And then it's doing very well. And then Kinokuniya bookstore is doing so well. I think they're going to open a branch in downtown Portland. So this has been doing very well too. And then the new store, which we just recently remodeled, was built in 20 years ago. So, and then we opened a Renton store in 2009, I think, or something like that. And during this virus, it's doing very well. And then this is our Bellevue store, which we opened 6-7 years ago. So we're also in the real estate. We bought this building and we just converted it to an apartment just a few years ago. And, it's been doing very well. The Kai market in the Lake Union area unfortunately wasn't doing well during the virus, so we closed it now. We're hoping to reopen it very soon. But as you know, the office workers are not there, so business really went down. So it's been sad. So, so anyway. So anyway, thank you very much for this opportunity to tell you about my story. So if you have any questions, please direct it to Mr. Yoshida, I guess.
Yeah. Thank you. I have one question. And you talking about the kamaboko.
Yes.
Where were the fishes from?
At first, we used to buy lingcod and whitefish from the waterfront of Seattle. Fishermen would bring in lingcod and fish like that.
Oh.
But, and so we used to cut it and surumi and make the surumi. But about, I don't know.
Tomoe-san, please turn on your video.
Oh, okay. Keeps going on. Anyway, about, I would say 70s or something, the surumi was already made, so that was a cheaper, but it didn't taste as good, I don't think. But
Yeah.
but we were making it first, and then we converted to buying frozen surumi, yes.
Oh, very interesting.
But then we thought that manufacturing was not the best way to, so we sold that business to Main Fish, Mutual Fish, the Satsumage Kamaboko business. And so we got out of it probably 1890s, something like that. Yeah.
Oh, very interesting. Yeah, I like fishes. So
Oh,
I ask you a question. Thank you.
I hate to say that, but the frozen surimi just has the same flavor. It's
No.
okay, but
Yeah,
yeah.
it's true. Well, thank you, Tomio-san. Now we will set 10 minutes question writing time. Please write your questions in the column at the bottom of this screen.
So Harry, does the questions come up or not?
Just came in. Okay. Someone was asking, how did you get to World Expo in 1962? How did you get in there?
The World's Fair?
Yeah, World Expo or something. Yeah.
Expo.
You know, in many years ago, World Fair, the official World Fair was only every 10 years. And apparently Chicago had a World Fair in 1930. And my father said he wanted to go there, but never got there. So as he was participating in the Japan fairs with people like Jetro, the people that were organizing these fairs were talking about Seattle sponsoring that 1962 World's Fair. So naturally, my father signed up to rent 700 square feet. And so that's how we got there. And then, as you know, the weather that 6 months toward the October was so bad that very few customers came to the fair. And so very few companies that were selling to the fair goers did well. But we did very well because we became the source of tobacco and cigarettes and Coca-Cola and candy for the workers of the fair. So we did okay, but I don't know if we were successful as selling knick-knack to the tourists, but overall, I think we got to be better known. And so it was a good promotion for us. So anyway, but my father always wanted to go to the World Fair. So I think there was supposed to be one in 1940 or something, but the war didn't allow that. So as soon as one was coming to Seattle, he wanted to be part of it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we have a lot of questions about your success story. Like among all the footprints during your business, which is the most memorable stories in your journey? You have done you have done a lot of things, and which is the most memorable experience or business success in your life?
I don't know. I had so many.
A lot of questions like this.
Well, I think Yoshida-san said, Toshio Komuro and myself and Terry, a handful of us started Keiro Nursing Home. I think that was a very exciting time, especially when your friends and many of our Issei customers were being served. And like I say, a lot of those Isseis were bachelors. And so they had no family, but when they were served at Keiro Nursing Home, that was a very gratifying experience, yes.
Mm.
Okay, and the next question is that where on the main street did you have your first Seattle store?
Fifth Avenue, between 4th and 5th on Main Street, yeah.
Okay.
It's was converted to a parking lot. Now there's a 17-story condo called the Koda condo. It's just being completed. So, but when we moved in, there was a 3 or 4-story brick building, and there was 6 bays, and we started with 1, and by 1965 we had all 6 bays. So went from 1,000 square feet to 7,000 square feet, and that's the reason why when this property at 6th Avenue and King Street became available, we took that because we were just outgrowing the space we had at the Main Street.
Okay. And also next question, we have a lot of similar questions. It seems like California, like San Francisco, Los Angeles, they may have better business opportunity, but your father settled in Seattle instead of California. Why?
Well, like I say, a lot of people from Yawatahama, Ehime, came to Tacoma and were very successful. So I think he was told if he got off the boat and he just said he was from Yawatahama, he was able to get a dishwashing job or lunch at 2 or 3 very successful restaurants. But like I say, I don't know about San Francisco, but Tacoma was a very successful city for Japanese right after the century, about 1900. My mother's father came to Seattle 1909 or something, but before that, Tacoma was a very popular place for Japanese from Japan. And like I say, they had the Sumitomo Bank, the Yokohama Specie Bank there. They had the KKK line there. They had the Consul General of Japan for a couple years there. So Tacoma used to be the hub before it came to Seattle.
Okay. Okay, next question is all about Uwajimaya again. Is the renovation for Seattle store completed already or still under construction? Your renovation in the Seattle store has been completed or not?
It's almost completed. I think the heavy structure part has all been completed. I think it's just now, just touching in, but it took a little longer than anticipated because this virus, a lot of the parts and equipment was unable to come right away. But Well, I think it's pretty exciting, so please come and take a look.
Okay, then next question is about Nikkei Community Network, NCN. How many organizations in the Nikkei, how
Yeah,
many organizations
I
are
asked Dale Kaku, and
the meeting?
he sends out about 24 notices for each meeting. And when we first started, there was about 15, 20 organizations, not 20, but about 15 would come. As of late, maybe 6 or 7 or 8 organizations will come. But, you know, with the email and things, all the organizations will notify each other about their program or programs. But as unfortunately with this virus, very few public events are happening. But so I would say, I will check this out, but I think about 24 very strong correspondents that we are members of this network group.
Okay. And next question is all about NCN, Nikkei Community Network.
Mhm.
What is the most benefit to attend the meeting? What do you expect when you attend the meeting? What do you guys share?
Well, I think, you know, this was started before internet was up. You know, there was internet, but it wasn't as widely used as now. You know, even the grandchildren use network now. But at that time, it was very important to let the people know of events that they were having and looking for volunteers and things like that. So I remember when we first started in the fall, you know, all 15, 20 organizations will tell us about their mochitsuki or holiday events, you know, and it was kind of exciting to hear all these events that were done by the churches or Kenjinkai and things like that. But, you know, now, like I say, the internet is so popular, so maybe it's not quite as necessary, but it's still nice to get together once in a while. And like I say, Consul General Yamada just happened to come to Seattle about the week that we had that meeting at the Cultural Center, and I think he just dropped in. I think Tojo-san brought him over, and you know, he's been a wonderful friend until he left. And when he left, you know, we work with Japan America Society and other organizations, and I think we had a very interesting farewell event for Consul General Yamada-san. Yeah. And here again, our next event will be Thursday, November 5th at 6 p.m. And I think if you get that information from the Shinjukai, I hope you tune in. And if you're with an organization, you could tell the Consul General briefly about yourself and your next event. And we're hoping the Consul General will say a few words of his impression of Seattle, I guess.
Okay. And let's see, for the next questions, during the COVID-19, those pandemic period, are you going to do web meeting or in person? What is your plan for the meeting?
Oh, no, this was a Zoom meeting. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now on, are you planning to do Zoom meeting or in person?
Oh, no, I will be on a Zoom meeting and I'm meeting with Hiro Tojo tomorrow to work out the details, but we're assuming we'll all be on the Zoom like we are today.
Okay.
And I guess your organization is going to be the whatever the monitor of this. And
Host.
are we using your how'd you say your whatever
Platform.
Zoom account?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and all right, the next question is kind of interesting. You are born here in the United States, but your first name is is Japanese name.
Oh.
Do you know why, or is there any reason why your father named him Japanese?
My father was a Chonan, the oldest, so he felt he had to go back to Japan, is what he told me. And so he didn't give us an American name because he wanted to take us back to Japan. In fact, the four oldest one, we were in Yawatahama, our name has been registered. So I guess he was serious about going back to Japan with his family. I feel very fortunate he did, but I think he really wanted to take his family back to Japan after he made some money. So I mean, he probably never made the money to go back, but I think that was his dream. And I think it was the dream of many bachelors that I got to know. They all wanted to go back to Japan, you know, with a little money and live comfortably.
Okay, and next question is, how often do you guys hold a meeting, monthly or bi-monthly or every 2 weeks?
Which
2
meeting?
months? How often do you guys gonna have a meeting, Nikkei meeting?
Oh yeah, no, we started out every 2 months, but it was actually ended up about every 3-4 times a year. And like I say, I have to feel that, you know, the emails and mail made it not quite as urgent. So we started out very diligently every 2 months, but last few years, it's even before the virus, we were not meeting as frequently as we started out with.
Okay. And then I think this is the last question. This is about Kenjinkai. How many Kenjinkais do we have in Seattle?
You know, I don't know. There used to be many. In fact, Shikoku used to have 2 or 3. They Ehime-ken, and I think, but they combined it. I don't think there's many. I know that Hiroshima has one and a few other, but I just guess there might have been 10, you know, right after the war. I don't know how many before the World War II, but there's only a few left, I think. Hiroshima is the biggest, I think.
Okay. Okay. And I hope I didn't miss any. Oh, there's a few similar one. What is your next big project coming up?
For
what is your I think it means Uwajimaya, or your personal kind of project or business, or I assume?
Well, I'm working on a 330 unit apartment on a property I bought about 20 years ago. And so, but it was supposed to have a hotel, but as you know, the hotel business, so we're redesigning it, but that's my personal investment. And that's what I've been kind of spending most of my time on. It will be a half a block project, and the design is up to 27-story tall. So.
Okay. And okay, here you go. This is a very last one. Do you have any special message or advice to the Japanese Issei or Nisei Japanese community?
No, I didn't think about it. You didn't ask me, Harry, before to think about this, but no, I think you know, like I say, because I'm in business, I get to know many people like Yoshida-san and Tom, but by and large, most of my Sansei friends have very little opportunity to meet people from Japan, you know, either students or business people. And I think, I guess my request would be for both parties to try to get to know each other better because, you know, culturally or
good thing.
From the ancestor, we have the same ancestors. And I think as I get older, you know, cultural and family ties become more important. And then conversely, the few some of the interns we get from Japan that come to the newspaper to work, they're very interesting people, you know, and I would love to have Sansei, Yonsei, their age, get to know them because they could, I think, enjoy each other's company and they get to know each other and, I don't know, learn a little bit more of the culture. So that's my desire.
Okay, that's all for the questions. Back to you, Tetsu-san.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Tomio-san.
Okay.
Thank you so much for taking your precious time and giving us a very interesting presentation today. We'd like to express our deepest gratitude to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, well, I want to thank the Shinjukai for allowing me to do this. So thank you very much.
And thank you everyone for joining us. Then we'd like to introduce the seminar from the JBA in November. Okay. One is November 9th. The title is Safety Seminar by Consul of Seattle. And one is November 19th. And what can we do for our children now that our lifestyle has changed by coronavirus? We will have 2 webinars in November. We look forward to your participation. And this is the ending of the webinar. And immediately after closing, a questionnaire screen will appear. So please answer it. Thank you for your cooperation. See you again. Thank you. Bye-bye.